Shalom, shalom. This week's Parsha is Parshat Ki Tisa, and it's a very difficult Parsha in the sense that the nation, having miscounted, thinks that Moshe delayed in coming down from the mountain, and they think that perhaps he is not coming down. And they implore very forcefully Aaron to do something about it. And Aaron, as a stalling tactic, tells them to gather all their gold and everything and to bring it to them, and they end up with a golden calf. And they start to bring sacrifices to it. They get up, they dance, and they engage in all sorts of problematic behavior. Whereupon God tells Moshe, quickly, you have to go down the mountain. This is what's going on. So he takes the two luchot, the two tablets, and descends the mountain. Whereupon Yehoshua tells him, I hear the sounds of war within the encampment. And Moshe says that is not the sounds of kol, very important word, not the kol of gura or chalusha. It's not the sounds of great strength of war or the weakness of being defeated in war. It's, what does he say? Just kol anot. And it's very interesting because this word anot is used, it's not kol anot gura. It's not the sound of the shouting of strength, kol anot gura, or it's not kol anot chalusha, the painful sounds of the weaknesses in battle, but it's just kol anot, period. No gvura, no chalusha, no strength, no weakness, just anot. And this word anot denotes suffering and pain. And I want to focus on this pasuk because I think that this is the source of all our problems all the time with people in general. What is the problem that led to the golden calf? The problem is when there is this anot, when there's this suffering. Where does suffering come from? It comes from a lack. It comes from something that we don't have and that we're trying to have fill this void. You know, pain and suffering can come from so many things. Of course, if you lose a loved one, there's a lack of that person in the world. But pain and suffering could be lack of having a spouse, lack of whatever, something that's missing in our life that we feel pain. And so the nation had this void. They felt some sort of emptiness. I happen to think that the reason why they felt this emptiness was because before, when Moshe was on the mountain, and God revealed himself to all of the nation, and he wanted to have a personal relationship with every single individual, but they rejected that and wanted Moshe to be the go-between, and then they didn't have that direct connection, and then Moshe is missing, and then they feel a void, and then they need to fill the void, and then they end up doing horrible things, because when we feel in our life there is a void and we don't fill it up with things of meaning, we quickly stray to our own destruction. And so it's very, very difficult. And it's interesting that it uses this word kol, and the painful kol that you can hear it, you can sense it in activity. And that it's interesting that in order to get back there, when we get to the Yomim Noraim, we start with the kol shofar, the different sounds of the blast of the shofar. There's different kinds of crying, different kinds of pain. And this is the way we start with our repentance, is with these kols, with these sounds of anot, of internal suffering, from pain, from lack of the right thing or the everything that we need to have a full life. And we go through the Aser Yimei Tshuva, and we end on Yom Kippur with one long blast. And it does have a sound of a note of suffering, that long blast, that shru'ah from the shofar. And I think that sound that we hear, that blast, is a sound of, now that we've done complete tshuva and we feel that sense also of having to start anew, because starting anew can be a very painful thing. We've just emptied out, purged from everything that we don't want to be, and now it's the pain and suffering from starting over and having to fill that void of everything that we've purged ourselves from. But the important thing is to have focus and to understand and to be introspective and know what it is that we're lacking, so we don't end up filling it with something that's empty, with this golden calf, and then, you know, singing and dancing for empty purposes around something that we've built that means nothing, instead of having true meaning in our life and true value in our life, and singing and dancing and serving something that serves us, that serves society, that fills that void in an everlasting way, that we don't have to feel that pain and hear that pain of suffering anymore. With that, I wish you a Shabbat Shalom.